Bet on Bears fans, another edition of the Chicago Bears podcast coming your way. Pat the designer, Shea Norling in the building, back at it again, ladies and gentlemen. And we got a lot to get into. The bye week has come and gone, and I'm buying into the Chicago Bears team. We got to talk about why this Sunday is a must-win game versus the Washington Commanders, who may be a little bit more banged up than expected heading into that game. Also got to talk about who the biggest threat in the NFC North is. We saw a lot of good football this week in the NFC North. And then, is there any scenario where Ryan Poles may have to break out the old chessboard to make sure that his quarterback stays alive? All that and more in today's episode of the Chicago Bears podcast. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. Shay, what's going on, my guy?
What's happening, Pat? Happy to be here. We got a lot to talk about. Very important stuff going on.
There's so much. Any week where there's no Bears football and then you come back with that Bears football excitement again, it's a good week. It's a good week. I enjoyed watching all the other teams on Sunday. I usually miss kind of the end part of those afternoon games because I'm doing the post-game show, but got to see all of it. And now it's just like, all right, I see what the league has.
Yeah.
Dare I say I'm not that scared.
Wow. Well, you got to be kind of a full spectator to Lions Vikings, which was a thrill ride. But I came away kind of feeling like a bit like you're feeling. One, I was wildly impressed with the Lions' resilience, especially on the defensive side of the ball, coming up with big sacks without Aiden Hutchinson late in that game on the final play, getting to Sam Darnold and sacking him. Granted, that's an obvious passing down. You know you're pinning your ears back. You know they need to go the length of the field. I was also really impressed by Minnesota's ability to fight. Down 28-17, battling their way back in. Again, you lived off a scoop and score fumble from David Montgomery. I don't know how sustainable that is. Packers-Texans was like very telling because Stroud went into that game and stunk. You're talking a yardage total that is sub 100.
Yeah.
And a completion percentage that is sub 50% for CJ Stroud on the road up at Lambeau. Jordan Love wasn't a whole lot better. And like Jordan Love's stats, 3 touchdowns, went over 200 yards. They look good, but the 2 picks were brutal.
They were bad.
Like brain dead interceptions, just horrible decision making. And now Jordan Love's at a point where he's missed 2 weeks and he's tied for the lead in interceptions in the NFL, despite missing 2 games.
Yeah.
So you kind of look around and you go, yeah, this division's awesome. It's clearly the best division in the NFC. But can we say that the Bears have the best defense? I think there's an argument to be made. Now, if you want to say it's Minnesota, okay, I get it. But the Flores blitz, boy, did Goff rip that thing apart. No trouble at all. Jared Goff playing MVP football. He, to me right now, is by far the best quarterback in this division. No disrespect to Caleb Williams. But yeah, I think if you look at all the teams in this division, yes, they're good. They are all flawed. And I think the Bears are kind of getting left out of that conversation nationally where it's like Lions, Vikings, Packers, look how awesome they are. And yeah, the Bears are good too. And I'm like, wait a minute. The Bears are coming on pretty strong here.
Yeah, no, 100%. Listen, if that's why I think this Sunday, for multiple fronts, is a must-win game, right? It puts you in that conversation that you're talking about there. It puts you in the, okay, now you're 5-2. It doesn't matter at this point what teams you're playing. You're 5-2, and you're looking down the barrel of divisional games with divisional opponents that you should be able to compete with at a minimum. Dare I say, keep up with. Like, you've been able to handle your schedule better than any Matt Eberflus team has ever been able to handle a schedule. Yeah. Going back to his Colts day, I guess early with the Colts, right? But those later years with the Colts, very, very telling on how that defense was getting cooked as well. And now you come into your first year of actually having a team that not only looks like they have teeth, but looks like they're getting their footing. And I've said this probably 4 weeks in a row here, Shay. I think the Chicago Bears do have the best defense in this division by a mile. I think if healthy heading into this Commanders game, they will again put that on display because Jaden Daniels has absolutely been eviscerating teams left and right. Even when you look at that game versus the Ravens, right, it didn't really look like the Ravens had an answer for Jaden Daniels. It looked more like, we're just actually the better team. We have more talent than you have right now. But it didn't look like Jaden Daniels was sitting there struggling to make things happen. I think that this coming game is a must win on so many fronts. Number one for me is proving that this defense will take quarterbacks that are able to go out there and say, it doesn't matter what team you are, we're going to be able to do something to you. And they hold this Commanders team under 21 points yet again. I think that this means a ton on the Caleb Williams, of course, offensive rookie of the year, but just the storyline of like, yeah, everybody keeps saying they should have took you over me. Let me show you why that's wrong. And I think he will absolutely be able to do that to this Commanders defense that, I mean, they're dropping like flies, Shea.
Yeah, Jonathan Allen's dead. And he was their best defensive player. Their defense was bad with him. I don't think it's going to get better without him. And what they did to a Carolina team that I think quit
last week
doesn't mean a lot to me.
Yeah.
You mentioned this being a must win. There is no think. I think this is a must win. No. This is a must win game. And you didn't mention the biggest reason why. I think I'm the only guy that's saying this. What was the goal entering this season?
Playoffs.
That becomes remarkably difficult to achieve if you do not win this specific game.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you why. One, you fall to 4-3, and your pathway to 10 wins becomes very difficult to map out. You lose this one, then I can't just write in a bunch of dubs in the division and drink the Kool-Aid and go, yeah, well, we lost to the Commanders. Their defense sucks. It doesn't matter, though. We're going to just rip off wins against Green Bay and Detroit and Minnesota and San Francisco and Seattle. Like, no, I can't get there. You lose this one, I have to change the way that I look at you. I'm going to downgrade you a little bit.
Right.
The other reason, and this one's much bigger because it's tangible, it's real, and it is an impactful thing. What did the Eagles do in New York yesterday? Committed a murder, right?
Ran the football down their throats until they couldn't take it anymore.
They created a crime scene. Yeah, they went in and destroyed a team that to this point in the season, say what you want, laugh about Daniel Jones, their defense was legit. And Philly went in and destroyed them. I think Philly played a get-right game. All of the conversation that was leading up for Philly, and the reason I'm focusing on this will become clear in a moment. All the conversation leading into the week, Nick Sirianni hates his quarterback. Nick Sirianni's getting into fights with the fans. It's his Britney Spears moment. He's shaved his head. He's losing his fucking mind. You can't trust the Eagles. They look dead. They go into New York. They commit a slaughter. If the Eagles get right, they are the likeliest team in this division to win this division. What does that mean for you? It means Washington becomes a, wait for it, wild card team. There are only 3 spots. If you lose to Washington on Sunday, you give them the tiebreaker.
Yeah.
You no longer have the ability to go 9-8 against a 9-8 with Washington and get in. Even 10-7, if you both finish 10-7, doesn't get you in because I believe Philly's getting right and winning this division. Washington will not stay this good. They're running a little too hot for my liking. And that causes problems at the end of the year where you have to finish a full game better than them because if you're tied, they're a game up on you. That can't happen. Yeah. If you fall to 4-3 and they're 6-2, you are 3 games behind them, not 2.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with you. That's the likeliest scenario too, right? Where you're in a wild card fight here. You're probably not winning this division. There's some teams from what we saw Sunday, there's some teeth in this division that you just may not be. You may be too far behind already to have the conversation on winning it just by the nature of losing that Colts game early on in the season, right? One that you should have been able to get. That kind of puts you behind the 8 ball. So you're in the wild card conversation in my mind, no matter what. This is
without the Colts loss. This is not a must win for me. But because you lost to the Colts and because Minnesota and Detroit have taken care of business outside of this better than the Bears have. Like Detroit's 5-1, Minnesota's 5-1. Minnesota's loss is in the division. They've taken care of business elsewhere. They don't have to sweat a tie-break scenario. They beat the Niners. They beat the Texans. Like they don't have to sweat the Niners tie-break.
Yeah.
And I think for the Bears, it's you can't control certain things. Like Tampa could also be the team that you end up tied with, but you don't play them head to head. So you don't have the ability to control that. This game, you have the ability to control your fate. The Niners game, the way that division's shaping up, will give you some ability to control your fate. But this one in particular, you have to go to 5-2 if you want me to feel comfy talking playoffs the rest of this season.
No, 100%.
Because you lose the ability to have the destiny in your own hands if you lose this game.
Here's where I think it gets dangerous too. If you look at it from the Commanders' standpoint, right? They go out there and they win this game. They got the Giants next, right? And then you're starting. They've got a schedule that kind of allows them to drop a couple of games, but then get right back in it, right? They got the Cowboys and the Titans. That should be back-to-back wins. But what you can do in this game, and I think this is something that, it's a copycat league, Shea, and if you go out there and put on tape how to stop Jaden Daniels. They got the Steelers coming up. They got the Eagles coming up. They got the Eagles twice coming up, actually. They got the Saints coming up, who the Saints are probably gonna give them a little bit more leeway there. But you also got the Falcons in December. You can put the blueprint on paper of this is how you beat this team and take them completely out of the race by showing other teams. Hey, you think Mike Tomlin's not going to be watching that with that Steelers defense that he's got over there?
Yeah.
You think that, the Eagles aren't going to be watching that? Like, this is a divisional opponent that you can take out in the future by putting on tape how to beat them. And listen, we've seen the passing chart for Jaden Daniels. We know he loves that right side of the field. It's not to say it's the only thing that he loves, but he's trying to get there. Terry McLaurin versus Jalen Johnson, advantage Jalen Johnson. He's played Jalen Johnson twice. He has not broken 50 yards yet against Jalen Johnson. I don't expect it to change in this game. I think this is a team you can get pressure on. I think this is a team that you should be able to get some interceptions against. And I'm going to tell you this right now. Yesterday was scary for me watching Jaden Daniels go down with some of that injury because it didn't look like he got hit that hard, Shea. I know it's different when you're the one getting hit, but I watched that play and went, what happened?
But I mentioned this on the morning show, and it's look, Caleb Williams is about 4 inches shorter than Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels is a big guy, 6'5". Caleb Williams is 5 pounds on Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams is heavier than Jaden Daniels despite being that much shorter. And I'm not this isn't a treatise on who's the better player or whatever. I'm making a point that when you play the game the way Jaden plays it, the hits that you sustain carrying the football 13, 14, 15 times a game, with that kind of a frame, things like we saw this past weekend are going to happen.
Yeah.
That's where it gets scary. And honestly, Pat, this is the best defense that Washington will have played so far this season. It is certainly the hardest hitting defense that this Washington team has played yet this season.
Yes.
And if I'm the Bears, you mentioned copycat league. I copy from the Panthers a little bit. Hit this dude in the ribs. I know that sounds. Yeah. I know that sounds uncouth.
That is a legal tackle. That does not sound bad at all.
That is football. If Jaden Daniels, and look, I'm not saying that you wait till the play's dead and body slam him. Right. I'm not telling you hit him dirty, but if he decides he wants to run with the football and take off and go onto the edge, and he's tiptoeing down the sideline, and Jaquan Brisker's got a window, hey, Jaquan, throw it right in his rib.
Yeah.
Oh, he wants to come off the side of the line. DeMarcus Walker, do me a favor. Get a helmet right in his rib. And he's going the other way. Hey, Sweat, helmet to the rib.
That might change this game dramatically because I wonder if they try to run him less, knowing what this Bears defense can do, knowing there's going to be a spy on him the entire game. If Kyler Gordon is healthy, you already know how Kyler Gordon wants to get after him. I mean, let's take it back to what was that? Was that week 2 of preseason? We played the Bengals and he just killed a guy.
And that's what I'm saying. If they draw up that blitz, Eberflus loves that extra blitzer with Kyler Gordon out of the nickel. And if Kyler Gordon gets a free rushing lane, Kyler, do me a favor, drive that shoulder right to the rib.
Yeah,
hit him where it hurts. And I'm sorry, man. It's football. If it is win to me, or the playoffs becomes a distant dream and less of a concrete reality. If you have to win by knocking out Jaden Daniels, I don't buy that any Bears fan is going to be on their couch weeping about it because I won't.
I don't even know. I think here's the thing, right? And we're not saying to hit him dirty. It's just tackle him.
Hit him hard.
hit him hard.
Hit him hard and get him on the ground.
Yeah, that's what this Bears team does anyway. It's not, and I think here's my big thing with, like what we saw on Sunday out of Jaden Daniels. Like, it didn't even take a hard hit. If anything, right, hit him so that you don't get a penalty, but hit him consistently. And that's the one thing that I love about what we've seen out of Javon Dexter. It's the one thing that I love that we've seen out of Andrew Billings. When you watch that Jaguars game, Trevor Lawrence was in hell.
Yeah.
He was like, stop touching me. Like, every time the ball's out, stop touching me. Go that extra mile. Go as close to the line as you can before the ref goes, you touch him again, I'm throwing the flag out. Like, because that to me is the thing that keeps the consistent pressure on the quarterback. It's the thing that I've been most concerned about with Caleb Williams on the flip side of this thing. And it's the thing that I think irritates quarterbacks the most. And it's how you're going to get to Jaden Daniels on a consistent basis. Plus, Jaden Daniels puts himself out there for these things. That's the other part about this. It's not, that teams are hitting Jaden dirty or teams are hitting Jaden late, right? Justin Fields dealt with a lot of that stuff because of how big he is. They're hitting him after the play and stuff like that. This is not that. This is Jaden's going to give you the opportunity to light him up. And when you get that opportunity, light him up.
This goes back to him at LSU. It was my biggest concern with him in the draft. There's a game against Ole Miss where he's like trying to make an in cut on a run instead of just sliding down, and he gets absolutely destroyed. Fumbles the football away. This has been his whole time. Like, he doesn't slide. He didn't slide at LSU. He doesn't really slide a lot in the pros, and he takes a ton of hits.
And he doesn't have that Lamar elusiveness. That's the thing. He runs very similar to how a Justin Fields or maybe even a Cam Newton ran back in the day. And he doesn't have that, like, you're too small to be running that way.
He runs like Josh Allen. He runs like Josh Allen without any thought to the fact that he's a twig. That's where I'm like, if I'm the Bears defense, I am hitting him as hard as I can, as often as I can. I'm blitzing him. Make this guy's life hell.
Yeah.
Do not allow him to get comfortable.
No,
ever.
100%.
Because
100%.
Their defense is going to offer zero resistance. And your offensive line's been playing better, and they had Jonathan Allen rip a peck, and he's done for the year. They do not have a pass rush to speak of. Caleb's going to be all right. He'll be standing up, all good. You got to make Jaden's life hell.
Yeah.
Hell.
Yeah.
That's football, man. Again, I'm not saying anybody hit him dirty, but I will not cry if Kyler Gordon throws a helmet or a shoulder pad into the rib that's already hurt and Jaden Daniels has to leave the game. I won't. That's football, and you got to win this game.
I want to see exactly what we saw last week. I believe it was 15 quarterback hits on Trevor Lawrence. That number should be in the teens. And he's going to give you the opportunity. It's the thing. He's going to give you the chances to hit him in the teens just in general. So we'll see what that ends up being. I mean, listen, I think this is it. Like you said, I agree with you. This is a must-win game. And I think this is a game that the closer I get to it, the more Commanders football I've watched over the last 2 weeks. Over the last 3 weeks, probably, I've watched more Commanders football than I've probably watched since RG3 left the field, right? I've watched so much Commanders football, breaking down the All-22, looking at what this team is. And I'm going to be honest with you, and I know that this may sound cocky, or overconfident as a Bears fan, and maybe we shouldn't be. I don't see how they can beat you. They don't have a matchup that's in their favor. They don't have a single matchup on the field, offensively or defensively, that is in their favor. Unless the flags are flying and the Bears are just taking penalty after penalty for even breathing on Jaden Daniels, I don't know how this is. I'm on a Monday right now, Shea, and I think this should be another 35-16 win where we're at the end of the game going, they're going to get 16.
Now you're drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit. I mean, I get it because of what they've been able to do to the Panthers and the Jags, but it's the NFL, man. You don't make a living winning games that way. You're installed as a 1.5 point favorite. This is a win at all costs. I don't need it to look pretty. I don't care if you win by 1 or 100. Just win. Because if you win this game by 1 point or 100 points, I can come do this show with you on Monday next week, and we can talk about how do you buy to make this team a Super Bowl contender? How do you buy to make this team a level up from just make the playoffs. What do you do in the trade market if you're Ryan Poles? You go lose this game, we're having a very different conversation, one that
100%.
I do not want to have.
100%.
And that's where just like, I'm not going to go crazy and go, yeah, you own every matchup, that you have an advantage at every position. You're going to win this game by 100. No worries. No sweat, Bears fans. Enjoy the day. No, I'm not doing that. I think there's a world they lose. I do. I am genuinely a little afraid because Washington's offense has been so good. And they haven't done it against elite defenses, this is as much as it is a prove-it game for Caleb Williams and the Bears to go, we can beat teams that are good. It's also a little bit of a prove-it game for Washington to say this offense can work against good defenses. And Jaden Daniels is awesome. And I know you don't like Terry McLaurin edge to Jalen Johnson. I agree with you. Jalen Johnson is the best cover corner in the league right now. Yeah. Terry McLaurin is not the best wide receiver in football. But Terry McLaurin's going to have a tough time getting more than 50 yards against Jalen Johnson when the guy throwing him the football is Sam Howell.
Yeah. It makes it a little. Well, they got Mariota. No, they don't got Mariota. No, they do.
They do now, but you know what I'm saying? Like last year, Terry McLaurin's getting the ball from Sam Howell.
Yes,
that's a little bit different against Jalen Johnson than when Terry McLaurin's getting the ball from Jaden Daniels, and they have a lot of chemistry, and they've built up an offense that seems to be working and a relationship where they're really confident in one another. Like there is a lot of cause for concern going into this. Off the bye. Did the bye come at the wrong time and you lose a little bit of your momentum offensively?
Yeah.
Can Cliff out-scheme Shane Waldron? I think there's places where you can go and say, this isn't perfect. The Bears, I think, are the better team. It's why you're a favorite on the road. And you should win this game. The point I'm making is you have to win this game. And I don't care how you do it.
Yeah.
But win.
No, I agree. And I think you said something there, right? Can Cliff out-scheme Shane Waldron? I think that depends on Caleb Williams, but I would say Cliff, like I can see Cliff having the edge in that. The question for me, though, is can Cliff out-scheme Matt Eberflus? And I don't think there's a shot.
That's probably
think there's a chance that Cliff Kingsbury can out-scheme Matt Eberflus. I think Matt Eberflus right now is proving he's one of the best defensive minds in football. He may be up there as the best. What we're seeing out of this defense going back to 2023 is unheard of, the streak that they're on right now. And maybe that ends this week, right? Maybe this is the week where they go out there and they put up 25 and the Bears have to have the offense on the other side. But there's one piece that maybe you feel can do that to you, and that's Brian Robinson Jr., depending on, how healthy he is and how he's going to be able to go out there and be successful, because the Bears have struggled a little bit more with the run this season than with the pass. But if their game plan is to make a living off of, we're going to run the football with Brian Robinson Jr., we're going to put Jaden Daniels out there to run, that takes Terry McLaurin out of it, I think that's still advantage Bears in my mind.
Yeah, I think you're missing. Do I think Cliff on his own can out-scheme Eberflus? No, I probably don't. But who's Cliff's head coach?
That's true.
And I think if Cliff spends a week in meetings with Dan Quinn, and Dan Quinn is they're working together, because as smart as Matt Eberflus is defensively and as highly as I think of him, I think very highly of Dan Quinn.
Yeah.
And his ability to identify what it is the Bears do, where they like to do it, and how Cliff can counter, I think is another reason for concern going into this game.
But do we see Cliff change who he is, right? Listen, he's the one read guy, right? Jaden Daniels is he's top 5 and going to his first read. Now, when your first read is Terry McLaurin, I see this stat flying around. I expect you I'm begging the Bears to up the first reads here, right, and make DJ Moore that first read. I'm screaming it at the top of my lungs. You know who Sam Darnold's throwing to on his first read a lot? Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
When you've got a receiver that good, you should be throwing to him on his first read. So I'm not saying that as a slight to Jaden Daniels' game in the slightest. What I'm saying that is, though, I like we said, I think you have the matchup in that Jalen Johnson, one of the best coverage, if not the best coverage corner in the NFL right now. I think that you're going to have to find other people to be that number one option. And I think you quickly run out of people when you start looking down that Washington offense and go, well, we got to get the ball to Zach Ertz. And that's not a great situation for us to be in, because he's not the Zach Ertz that he once was.
I also just, as much as I want to be as confident as you are, and as much as I want to sit here and say, yeah, they're just going to blow them out, and as much as I do believe in this defense, this is a different style of test that this defense is going to face. Because you think about Will Levis, he's a little mobile, but he's mostly going to sit in the pocket, and he's also a fucking lunatic. He's going to give you the football. Like he's wrapping it up and putting it under the tree for you. You played CJ Stroud, who can move, but let's be real, pocket quarterback.
Yeah.
Anthony Richardson's a bit of a different story, but again, total lunatic and wildly inaccurate with the football. Stafford, Dalton, Lawrence, pocket guys. This is the first time that you are getting a true dual threat who is also wildly accurate throwing the ball. And I think that's where I'm like, this defense, as good as they've been, they haven't seen this. And you brought up they've struggled more against the rush. Yeah, to the tune of you're number 1 in the NFL in dropback EPA. You are number 19 in rush EPA.
Yeah.
How can Washington abuse that? Well, they got the running back whose name escapes me, Brian Robinson, and they've got Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
And going up against that two-headed monster in a rushing attack, I do think limits your ability to be as good as you've been in coverage and rushing the passer, which is where I say knock Jaden out of this game. I think that's your pathway to comfortably winning. I do.
Well, listen, you take out the starting quarterback. Yeah, more times than not, that's your pathway to comfortably win.
Sometimes that can honestly be the game plan. And we've talked about it enough. You know he's going to offer you the opportunities to knock him out. Take them. Take them.
You're going a little Sean Payton on us, are you? Little bounty get little.
No, I'm not saying hit him in the head. I'm not saying hit him cheap. I'm just hit him hard in the ribs. You know he's hurt. You know he's going to take hits. Hit him. He's asking you to do it. It's fucking football, Pat. God damn it. I'm so tired of everybody talking soft about this. Oh, you're saying knock him out of the game. I will not cry. If Kyler Gordon knocks Jaden out of the game, I will not cry. Yeah, that's football. Do not hit him dirty. Don't cheap shot him. Don't target him. Don't hit him in the head. Crack his fucking ribs. He's going to give you opportunities. And you, God damn it, Bears fans, you need this win.
Yeah.
By any means necessary. Yeah. And the only way I think you get it comfortably is if you take him out of the game.
See, that's where we differ. I think you could beat this team fairly comfortably. I think Matt Eberflus is going to have a defensive setup for this young man that he hasn't seen out of any team this season. And it's going to be a shock, and I think it's going to be the thing that changes Washington's season as a whole, although going your route could also change their season completely. Let's keep it going, though. I like this conversation. I like the conversation about why this is a must win. And I think that when you look at the rest of the North, that's really what kind of starts to scare you as you look at this final part of this Bears schedule. I mean, Shea, there's some dogs in this division. And hit that like button, subscribe to the page. Leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do, man. Who right now, in your mind, after seeing what we saw on Sunday, after seeing how dominant, I mean, 2 of the 3, and I mean the Packers handled business as well, and we know that they can play better than that. Who's the biggest threat right now to the Chicago Bears in the NFC North, do you think?
I think the easy answer is the Lions. And I think it remains true. Like Jared Goff is playing MVP football.
He's the MVP right now.
I think it's him or Josh Allen, and I think that's going to be the race the rest of the season. I mean, I think just narratively speaking, not to go down this road, Josh Allen is going to get more of the he does it himself argument, and Goff obviously has that offensive line, but Pat, that offensive line, what they were able to do against Minnesota's pass rush, you've got Penei Sewell at right tackle, eating 2 defenders at once. The left side of the line's impenetrable. You're bringing the wide receiver Tim Patrick across a formation and asking him to solo block, and he's doing it. That team is so physical.
Yeah.
And they will beat your ass and body blow you to death. They remain to me the number 1 threat. I think from Sam Darnold, we've seen a little bit of a comeback to earth the last couple of weeks. And granted, there was a big comeback late And Darnold had a nice throw and led a touchdown, and then they capitalized on a scoop and score from David Montgomery. But I think Darnold has started to fall back to earth a bit. That offense has started to cool off a little bit. And so Minnesota doesn't scare me as much. The floor has blitz or nothing. Clearly, if you have an offensive coordinator who can work with a quarterback like Jared Goff and Ben Johnson yesterday, they'll just eviscerate it.
Yeah.
I mean, they were incredible ripping apart that blitz. You talk about Goff yesterday. He had the most impressive performance given the defense that he was doing it against. He was incredible. Yeah. And Ben Johnson was incredible. And they won that chess match. So they remain the scariest. That said, I do think they're flawed. And they don't have Aiden Hutchinson. So their pass rush is severely limited from what it was. They're going to play you twice, once indoors, once outdoors. They will only play 3 outdoor games all season, and you are likely to host them in the only game all year where they actually have to deal with elements. It doesn't really matter as far as the playoffs, because I think the Lions kind of have the inside track right now to be the home field team throughout the NFC in the playoffs.
Right.
Which would mean if you have any designs on, going deep in the playoffs, you're going to have to go to Detroit and win a game. But I think it does matter in terms of getting there, because you will have the opportunity to play Jared Goff outdoors on grass in the cold, where historically he stinks. And we saw that last year. And that's where I think I get a little less afraid of them. Minnesota, I already told you, I think there's some regression at play. Defensively, they're awesome, but if Caleb continues to get the ball out as quickly as he does and continues to learn and develop at identifying pre-snap what he's looking at, you have as good a chance as anybody to do what the Lions were able to do yesterday. Green Bay, boy, do I think they've got some issues.
Yeah. Green Bay is
running third in the list of threats.
Jordan Love is interesting to me. It's you can see the talent, you can see him making the throws. You like he's the tale of 2 quarterbacks in the same game. Like I look at that throw early on to who's the tight end over there? Name escapes me right now.
Tyler Kraft
in the end zone. Tucker Kraft in the end zone. I look at that throw and I'm like, I don't know if there's 5 other quarterbacks in the NFL that can make that throw. How he made it, how precise it was, puts it on a dot, boom. And then you watch him the rest of the game. He's just like, hey, where'd you put that one? How'd you get that ball there? Like that doesn't make. So I think that the Packers are the most interesting to me because it depends on which Jordan Love you're going to get. But I'll still say, as strong as Detroit is when you talk about a threat, Detroit, I think they have the best offensive line in the NFC North by far. I think
they have the best offensive line in the NFL.
There you go. You know what I mean? Like they will stop the pressure up front no matter what, which I think makes things wildly easier for Jared Goff. But I don't know what
matter of fact. Forget offensive line. The Lions have the best offense in the NFL by far. Period.
Yeah. No. Yeah. 100%. Easily. But there's something about this Bears defense that it matches up really well with them. They're able to fight back. They're able to figure it out. I mean, I understand that they added pieces this season, but the guy I'm most worried about on this team going off on me is not the guy that's been the most accurate quarterback in 3 weeks of football. You know what I mean? It's David Montgomery. It's the run game. It's that ground and pound, because I think that's the thing that's going to wear down your defense, and that opens up opportunity for Jared Goff to then go out there and be able to pick you apart offensively himself, right? Like, so I'm not as worried about the Lions as maybe I should be. And it's because of what I've seen in the past. I mean, the Bears dominated them in 7 3/4 of 8 quarters of football last season. I think that some of that continues, especially when Jared Goff comes here outside. Is that a December game? December 22nd. I would assume it's going to be a little bit chilly out here December 22nd, although you never know where this Chicago weather is going to get you. Heck, even when you talk about November 28th, like that's a game that could be a cold weather game here in Chicago. So, I'm sorry. Well, no, it'd be in Detroit. So that's up there. But
it's the December 22nd game. I think is the one that's here.
The 22nd game is the outdoor game. But so like I think that that's advantage Bears in my mind. I think you can split with the Lions. Dare I say, I said this last week. I think there's a possibility that the Bears can sweep the Lions, and maybe that's wishful thinking. Maybe that's drinking the Kool-Aid there, but there's something about having a team's number that I think is so important. Here's the team for me that's the biggest threat. Minnesota, I think, is a threat. I think you can split with Minnesota, though. I think they get the win in their building. You get the win in your building. I think Sam Darnold gets brought back to earth a little bit more. Playing against this Bears defense. The Green Bay Packers is bigger than just football, though. The Green Bay
but that's
Packers
not the same thing as them being a legitimate threat.
Well, here's the thing, though. They're a good football team. They're a really good football team. They are reason why we talk about this division as the best division of football. And on top of that, they're the only team in this that I think has the mental advantage right now on the Chicago Bears. I think that the Bears will split with the Packers this year, and I think the game that they lose will 110% be because they're sitting there going, dang it, they did it again. You know when you get to that moment at the end of the game where you just start to go down that same rabbit hole where it's almost like you're falling down the stairs in a dream? Yeah. That's what the Bears are in with the Green Bay Packers right now. And I think that takes effect. I think that will start to change this year because I think you have a quarterback that thinks differently.
I agree.
Than what we had previously, and I think that's going to affect the rest of what happens in this building. You have Caleb Williams, say what you will. He knows the story, and he knows what's going to put him on top, not only just in Chicago, but in the NFL. If he becomes the quarterback that goes out there and says, we will beat you, and we will finally slay the beast, and does it, he knows what that means, not only to this city, but to his legacy in Chicago. I'm not going to lie. There's quarterbacks in our past that we could look at and go, yeah, guy was okay. Beat the Packers, though.
Can I tell you, though, I think that's a fan thing more than it is player or locker room mindset deal, especially with this, because you have a different quarterback. You have a different offensive coordinator. You have a defense that feasts, that takes the ball away against a Packer quarterback who right now loves nothing more than to give the ball away.
Yeah.
He leads the NFL in interceptions. He's given up. He's not played in 2 games.
Yeah.
And I think that the edge, honestly, you're going to play him November 17th, about a month, at home at Soldier Field. And right now, today, without a number in front of me, I would bet the Bears. I think you're the better team.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that stops me from saying I feel like the Packers are the biggest threat or the legitimate threat. I get the fan side of it, and I get the mental side of it, and I get the fear of it a little bit. But as a fan, I don't really get afraid. It's not my job to stress out over this. I can be worried about the result of a game, but I'm not scared. And I honestly, like, this long stretch of not beating the Packers, what's the common thing in those games? Your quarterback sucked.
Yeah.
Your quarterback doesn't suck anymore.
Yeah.
Are you ready to admit, by the way, that Fields is no good? That not just that Caleb Williams is better. He stinks, Pat.
I don't know if I'll say. I mean, listen.
Come on. You and I thought about this way too much to not have this conversation. And this is not a Pat, I'm right. This is not a Pat. This is just, I want you to come to see the light.
Here's my
give up the fandom and admit after what we saw last night with Russell Wilson.
Listen. The takeaway from that game was not that Justin sucked for me. The takeaway from that game was, we're probably not getting that fourth round pick.
Why? Tell the people why. Why aren't you getting the fourth round pick?
That job back.
Why? Pat,
Justin's not getting that job.
Pat, why?
Because they want a passer. Listen, Justin is more of a make it happen playground football type of quarterback. I think that there are teams that you can make that work with in this NFL, but you have to have an amazing team around him. And he got you to 4-2. Why? Because your defense is really freaking good.
Yeah.
He got you to 4-2 because he's going to have those games where he is above average. He's going to have those games where he's below average. So for me, I don't think that Justin Fields can't play NFL football. I don't think that he sucks. Because like the guys that I think suck, we don't talk about enough. Trevor Lawrence sucks. Trevor Lawrence is a terrible NFL quarterback. And it's not just because his wide receivers drop footballs. Gardner Minshew last night sucks.
Stinks.
He sucks. You know what I mean? I think that when you have quarterbacks that you can win with, I can't say that you suck. Now, Can I say I can't win because of you? Yeah. I can admit that about Justin Fields. I think Ryan Poles absolutely made the right call. I think that Ryan Poles absolutely made the right decision as far as going out and getting the quarterback. I'm still on the other side because my biggest thing with keeping Justin was you got nobody to protect this guy.
Well, yeah, no, and
You
I'm
got
not.
nobody to protect Caleb either. That's
I'm not
my
trying
biggest gripe.
I'm not trying to relitigate the conversation, whether it was right or wrong, Caleb Williams or Justin Fields.
Yeah,
I'm making the point.
Look, we're there. Caleb was right.
This
Caleb
year
was right.
against the Packers is different because your quarterback doesn't suck anymore.
Yeah.
You have a good quarterback.
But
that's where I look at this, and I get, again, fans like, we never beat the Packers. There's a mental block. I don't buy it.
I do, because
the Bengals never won games until Joe Burrow, and then you get Joe Burrow and you start winning games.
No, I get that. But I buy it because remember last season, right? When after we get drubbed in the first game of the season, it looks like we're woefully unprepared. We there's nothing going on. And all the way leading up to that game, our guys were sitting there going, it's just another game. It's not that important. We got to go out there and win the game like we got to win any other game. It's not that big a thing for us. And I remember listening to Jordan Love, and I remember listening to Matt LaFleur, and the first thing that they said was, well, everyone knows this isn't just another game. This is a game that sets the tone for your season. This is a game that keeps you on top as king. And I'm not saying that propelled them all the way to the NFC playoffs, right? I'm not sitting here telling you that that's what got Jordan Love through this miracle Dallas game, even though Dallas is just atrocious, right? I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is that they know having that mental advantage is a big part of why they keep kicking the crap. How many Bears games have we watched where the Bears should win it versus the Packers, where we go, we finally got them. There it is. And then we're sitting there at the end like, how did they just do that?
Yeah.
How did they just beat us?
That game at Soldier Field in 2022 was the one that really Rodgers with the comeback, and that one.
Khalil Mack's best game ever as a Chicago Bear.
I mean, it just I don't know, man. The way I look at the NFL is different than most. I don't buy that stuff exists. Like, how long were Lions fans saying we're never going to beat the Packers? And then what happened? You got Jared Goff, who bought in. You got an offensive line that was great, and you went up to Green Bay and you eliminated Aaron Rodgers from the playoffs.
Yeah,
that's Bengals fans for years. We'll never have a quarterback. We'll never have a quarterback. We'll never have a quarterback. We ruin everybody. It's a graveyard. And then you get Joe Burrow. Oh, wow, you got a quarterback.
Yeah,
like. Things exist until they don't. Yeah. And I think that's where I look at it this year. And we're talking about the context of 2024.
Yeah.
And I just say, you have a quarterback now. You have a head coach who I think is damn good despite his flaws. And I just think this is a different team in a different year. And in a football game, purely talking football without any of the like voodoo off-field mental stuff, I'm picking the Bears.
Yeah.
I think the Bears today are better than the Packers today. Maybe I'm crazy. I can be wrong. I'm not, but what I saw from Jordan Love yesterday wasn't great. And yeah, they did a great job of limiting CJ Stroud, but I still don't really buy their defense is awesome. Now it's getting healthy.
Yeah.
That makes a difference.
The defense can take away the football though.
Yeah, it can, of course, but so can yours.
Yeah.
And they
100%.
give the football away a whole lot more than you do.
100%. And that's why I give their defense probably a little more credit. I think their defense has a little more teeth. If I was ranking, I'd probably put them above the Vikings for the reason that you just said. When I've got a quarterback that keeps giving the football back, that makes my life harder. It's why I put the Bears so high, right? Bears 2 weeks in a row, they're keeping teams under 21 points, and their defense is out there 70% of the time. You know what I mean? And with what we've seen out of Jordan Love past couple of weeks, giving the football away, defense goes out there, gets the football back time and time again. Like I give them a little bit more credit than probably most defensively. And listen, it's got to suck as a Giants fan to just watch every player you let go just go out there and dominate on a consistent basis on their new team. Because what McKinney's doing over there after leaving the Giants is exactly what I expected him to do. And it's why I was hoping the Bears maybe went out and got him. But I'm very happy with the Kevin Byard on this team.
Now, here's the thing I'm just going to say quickly about regarding the takeaways. And I'm not going to talk about interceptions because interceptions are caused. They're not luck. The Bears are recovering 75% of the fumbles that they forced. That is an impossibility. It has has to come back closer to 50%. It is a bounce of a funny shaped ball. It is all luck. The Packers are recovering 63% of their forced fumbles, and they have forced 11 to your 8.
Yeah.
That also has to come back down to earth. So when we talk about how great these defenses are because of the takeaways, the Packers may be getting a little luckier in the fumble department than even the Bears right now. And I think the Bears are a little more prone to ball hawking, which again, to me, advantage Bears. It's not that I'm not afraid of the Packers at all. Every team in this division is a threat. The Vikings and the Lions feel more real.
The Lions, I think, feel the realest out of anybody because now there's I don't know if this is because he loves coming back from injury. I don't know what's happened, but he does not look like the same Jordan Love consistently on the field that we saw to start the season off and, of course, finishing out the season last year. But the one thing about the Lions that feels real is that offensive line. My biggest question with them is, are you going to be able to get to Jared Goff? And you were able to do it a little bit more last season. I think Javon Dexter is amazing. But if I'm going to go advantage in the trenches right now, I do feel advantage right now is to the Lions. And I think that's what's going to make this tough. But do the Bears add to that? Do the Bears go out and are they buyers, right? Like that's a conversation for a later date. But are you trying to add to this defensive line? Are you trying to add to this offensive line? Is there something you can do to even out the tide to make the Lions a little bit more catchable? And then what do you already have that puts you in that position? Because like I said, Matt Eberflus, I don't know what it is, but even when we were terrible, the Lions had to work hard to beat us. Every time, like every situation, we've made the Lions work hard to beat us in offenses that you're like, they're going to come in and they're going to eviscerate you.
So let's have the conversation that I know you want to have. You're talking about adding to a pass rush. You're talking about making this team a little better, improving them. Granted, for me, you still have to win at Washington to make this even a remote conversation. But we know the Lions are missing Aiden Hutchinson. We know that severely limits their ability to rush the passer. And we know that they've at least reached out to the Jets regarding Hassan Reddick, which feels like a nothing now because the Jets extended Hassan Reddick. They fixed the contract issue, whatever. If you hear rumblings that the Lions are on the phone with Vegas and they're trying to get Max Crosby, or that the Lions are on the phone with Cleveland and they're trying to get Myles Garrett, and you're Ryan Poles, do you play chess from the GM chair and give up your own capital to ensure that you won't have to stare down the barrel of Max Crosby twice a season?
I believe it is irresponsible to complain about offensive line all season, and then the second a defensive lineman opens up, you go out and you throw the proverbial house at that guy, because that's what it's going to cost you. Because the Lions don't care about their picks. The Lions are winning now. They want to win the Super Bowl this season, not next season, not 5 years from now. They're probably throwing at a minimum first and a second to go get Max Crosby.
I think it would be first and multiple seconds, or two firsts and a second.
Yeah.
I do question if it's true that they don't care about their picks. Their GM, Brad Holmes, is a very pragmatic general manager. He didn't make a trade last year when they had a clear Super Bowl team. They made the NFC Championship and had a huge lead in that game. Like, they had a clear Super Bowl team. Yeah. He didn't make a move for Montez Sweat, allowed the Bears to make that move. He didn't make a move for Chase Young. He didn't make a move for anybody else on the market. He was very pragmatic about it. And he said, the character, like, this is paraphrasing, but basically a quote, the character of the person that we bring in has to fit, and we want to build through the draft. I don't know that he's the guy in character that's just going to flip you two of his firsts or a first and a bunch of seconds. I don't know that he is. If you find out that that's the way that he's trying to behave, I do think I'm with you. I think it would be irresponsible of Ryan Poles to blow up his next draft plus when you have so many needs on the offensive line to get another edge rusher who will be making a lot of money. Because it's one thing for the Lions who have Aiden Hutchinson on a rookie scale deal right now. It is another thing for a team that just paid Montez Sweat to go acquire another wildly high paid pass rusher.
Yeah. I think here's why this is even a conversation, right? It's because most GMs would go, okay, they got Aiden Hutchinson and they got Max Crosby. That's going to be tough, right? But I'm going to go out there and I'm going to draft offensive linemen that are going to be able to stop that. The reason this is a conversation is because we have a lack of faith in Ryan Poles finding offensive linemen. We have a lack of faith in Ryan Poles going out there and finding that right guy because Nate Davis, I mean, Ian Rapoport talked about how there's trade interest for him. You can't even put him on the field versus the Panthers when you're dealing with injury issues versus the Jaguars. He's inactive, right? The reason that any of this is a conversation is because you feel safe about Ryan Poles' ability. Well, you feel safe in two things, right? Number one, that you expect Ryan Poles at this point to trade a second-round pick for something. And number two, you feel safe in his ability to go out there and find defensive linemen because you got three really good ones, and you found a guy in Darrell Taylor who basically was just the pass rush guy out in Seattle that they didn't know how to use, and now he's here in Chicago, and you feel like he's creating pressure every single week. So you're comfortable with what he's able to find on that side of the line. But it's just it's a tough thing to let happen, and it's why I think maybe you have to play a little chess to try and make that price as high as possible to try and deter the Lions from getting involved in that. But if the Lions are willing to pull the trigger on that, I think your best bet is to go out there and build the Lions offensive line, because you know what the best thing about having a great defensive line that's going up against you and what makes you feel the most comfortable? When I got Penei Sewell out there, when I've got an offensive line that I'm like, oh yeah, you got those guys, but we got these guys. Like, that's to me why in any scenario, right? Even with my confidence in the Bears this season, my confidence in the Bears this season comes from the fact that, yeah, you have Amon-Ra St. Brown, you have David Montgomery, you have all of these names, Justin Jefferson, whoever it is. I got Jalen Johnson, I got Tyreek, I think it's better for you to find the names that can combat against guys like that. And it's tough to do. That's why you get paid the big bucks. Yeah. That's why you're the GM of a football team. It's not an easy job, but it is so irresponsible to watch what you saw in that Houston game and feel, and Bears fans feeling so much better about this defensive line or this offensive line versus three teams that we know can't provide pressure. You got pressure coming. And you probably still can't protect the quarterback. It's just a little bit better. That's still scary for me moving forward. I need that fixed before I'm worried about Aiden Hutchinson and Max Crosby teaming up and becoming this dominant super team that you got to face twice a year.
And again, you can only control what you can control. You have to worry about yourself before you worry about what other teams are doing. And if the Lions want to pot commit right now, let them. Do you buy that this Bears team's ready to win a Super Bowl in 2024? I don't. Now, is there a world where magic hits and you get that? Sure. Like you can talk yourself into anything. Could this just be a blessed, magical season where Caleb Williams has this insane rookie year? And fine, I'm not ready to say that. Like, I'm not going to give you that opinion, but anything can happen. I'm just saying, the Lions may be ready to pot commit. It doesn't mean that you should act in an irresponsible way for yourself to stop them from being marginally scarier going forward.
Yeah. Hey, here's the only thing I'll play devil's advocate with, right? Can you say that a defensive line that has Javon Dexter, Andrew Billings, Max Crosby, and Montez Sweat is not a championship level defensive line?
No, it's the best defensive line in the NFL.
100%, right? And that means that your offense has to score a heck of a lot less. That is how the Kansas City Chiefs won a Super Bowl last year.
It's how they've won 6 games this year.
You're a long way away from there, right? You're a long way away from there offensively. You don't have a quarterback that's been in 5 Super Bowls in his 6th year in the NFL. But they weren't putting up 45 points a game last season, Shea. They were an offense that was like, I got 23 for you, and we need you guys to hold it down on the other side. You can win a lot of football games And I'm not saying Super Bowl, but you can go a long way in the playoffs.
The problem is
holding teams to 21 to 23 points a game.
Nobody scored 21 points on this Bears defense in 12 weeks. So why am I supposed to I badly need to upgrade there? Like, no, the place that needs to be upgraded is the offensive line. That's it. You fix your offensive line, and granted, you got a long way to go. But if you can fix this offensive line, you become a Super Bowl team. And that's where I'm not giving up capital to chase a star pass rusher. I already have one.
Yeah. No, I'm here for you. I agree with you. I don't want the Bears to do what they did before. Don't panic. Don't jump. Don't try and skip steps. And it's not Ryan Poles' MO. Again, I think this is a fan's mentality of we don't believe you can pick offensive linemen. Because let's be real. You have one. You have Darnell Wright. You have one. Tevin Jenkins is probably not going to be here next season because of injury concerns. You don't have a starting center. You think Ryan Bates maybe is a starting right guard. I'm telling you, Shea, I watched a lot of Ryan Bates in training camp. Unless he surprises me and comes out and dominates, he looks exactly like what you traded for, a backup right guard. Braxton Jones is wearing Nike flip-flops on the field and going backwards.
Yeah, I mean, that's to me where this team has to upgrade, not the defensive line. And like, honestly, we talk about the Lions and, well, you don't want to look at Aiden Hutchinson and Max Crosby. Well, you don't have to. If they trade for Max Crosby right now, they only have Max Crosby. And that's, again, where don't let the fear of 2025 dictate your move in 2024.
And the biggest question is Aiden coming back the same. That injury was nuts.
Well, yeah, and you know, like, who knows? We can't project out, and you don't know what that's going to look like when and if it happens.
But don't panic because of it, is what I'm saying, right? Like, you don't know what the Aiden Hutchinson Max Crosby combo, if it happens, ends up looking like.
What are the Lions if they go get Max Crosby this year? They're a marginally worse version of what they were 2 weeks ago. That's it. Like. And that's not, people are going to go, oh, well, you fucking hate Max Crosby now? No, Aiden Hutchinson was the best defensive player in the NFL, period. End of story. He was the best defender in the league. They lost him. You can replace him with Max Crosby, who might be the third best defensive player in the league. He still ain't bringing you what Aiden was.
Yeah. Aiden was, that's a massive loss.
Don't let the fear of them getting Max Crosby or of them getting Myles Garrett make you feel like this team needs to panic. They don't.
Yeah.
Don't let anybody else's decision impact what you're doing. Build you. It's what Eberflus and Poles keep saying. We got to run our own race. Yeah. We can't worry about what anyone else is doing. You'll be okay. It's going to be okay.
Thing I love about Ryan Poles, like he does not deviate the plan. We go get big name. Go get this guy. Go get this guy. He does not put his back up against the wall. He does not deviate away from the plan. I would love for him to have added a few more offensive linemen, like what I'm seeing out of Jackson Powers Johnson, Shea. I wanted him to put his Powers Johnson on the table. I like what I'm seeing out of Jackson Powers Johnson, dog.
It's a powerful Johnson.
That center. Who's the center that's in Seattle right now, or not in Seattle, in Pittsburgh right now? That was drafted in that second round. I like that kid. Did a good job protecting Rush yesterday. Who's definitely slower, but delivers the football.
Look at New York and a guy like John Michael Schmitz, who came out of Minnesota a couple seasons ago and kind of revitalized that line until Andrew Thomas died.
Yeah, like that kid. There's opportunities out there. Would like to see the Bears get in on some of those.
That's where I just don't trade your first round pick this year, because that first round pick, whatever you turn it into right now, might be fun for 6-7 weeks. But when we get to April, I want to be able to have a first round pick that I can look at and go, that's starting left tackle.
Yes. that is a mammoth of a human being on the left side. I want Matt Pryor size with Tevin Jenkins talent and Darnell Wright health.
Yeah. I'm with you.
Can we pair that all together? Before we get out of here, appreciate you guys for tuning in to show love. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think that the Bears should be in, if they maybe play a little bit of chess, if the Lions are all in on Max Crosby? Who do you think is the biggest threat in the NFC North? And is this Sunday versus the Commanders a must-win game? Let's finish it off with this, Shea. Quick takeaways, but your biggest takeaway from the bye week.
Josh Allen's back.
Yeah.
They went and got Josh Allen, Amari Cooper, and I'm at a point now where, like, as good as Jared Goff has been, he's not going to put up video game numbers for a 17-game season. Josh Allen got Amari Cooper. Josh Allen went for over 300 yards, 2 passing touchdowns.
Yeah.
He was awesome, and he does not have an interception yet this season. I think, Pat, right now today, Josh Allen's the best quarterback in football. Patrick Mahomes is having a rough go.
Yeah, I don't think it's Mahomes right now.
He's got more interceptions than he does pass touchdowns. I have always thought Mahomes and Allen are QB1 and QB2. Yeah. Joe Burrow's playing great, but Allen passes the eye test in a way that's just different. The dynamic that he offers an offense with his rushing ability, and now he's not turning the ball over. That is a weapon.
Only thing that I would combat that with is, and I get it, Jared Goff, Josh Allen has less and is still getting it done. Jared Goff's been amazing.
He's been incredible.
Jared Goff's been video game dog, when this doesn't even feel video game. I don't know what this feels like, but
it feels impossible.
When you go back and look at that Seahawks game, 292 yards, 2 touchdowns, 100% completion rating. That feels unreal.
Yeah, it feels impossible.
Do that in a video game.
He's completing 87% of his passes for the past 3 weeks for over 800 yards, 7 touchdowns, no interceptions. And oh, by the way, there's a receiving touchdown mixed in there too. And look, as much as I like Jared Goff, I've always liked Jared Goff. You and I have fought about how much I like Jared Goff because I believe he is an elite quarterback.
Yeah.
But what he's doing right now, it's incredible. It's also impossible. You cannot do this, not in the NFL. And water has to find its level. It just has to.
I think you can say that about both of these guys. I left Sunday going, when's it going to fall on? I keep saying that, right? We keep saying that about the Vikings offense. We keep saying that about Josh Allen. We keep saying that about Jared Goff, and it's not.
Yeah, but the thing with Allen is no, I don't think he's going to have a season where he throws 0 interceptions. But I do. We talked about this preseason. I told you, getting rid of Stephon Diggs was going to make Josh Allen less of a turnover guy. Why? He's not force feeding the receiver anymore. Yeah. He doesn't have anybody bitching about not getting the football. He's not thinking about other things. He's spreading the ball out, and all he has to do is make the right decision on a down-by-down basis.
Yeah.
And if we're talking pedigree and talent, Josh Allen clears Jared Goff, and it's not even fucking close.
Yeah.
So that's where I just look at it, and I'm like, Josh Allen has less on his offensive line. He has fewer weapons, and he is playing out of his goddamn mind. That's the best quarterback in football right now today. Now, if you want to talk MVP, I think the season ends right now. It goes to Jared Goff. But if you're asking me who is the best quarterback, it's Josh Allen.
Talent-wise, yeah. I mean, listen, it's impossible to argue it right now. Because what can he do? That's the thing I love about Josh Allen. Outside of the turnovers, what can't he do? Like he's finally gotten the turnovers to seemingly go away. He's one of the better runners in the NFL. He's got a big enough body to run you over if you really want to go head to head with him. He can throw it 1,000,000 miles. I mean, he can throw it the length of the football field accurately. Like if you had told me in 2019, 2020, that Josh Allen and Jared Goff would be 2 of the best quarterbacks in football by the time we get to 24, I'd have told you, go sell the house, bud. Go sell the house. Don't just give me the money. Just give me the money straight up. My biggest bye week takeaway, I will say this. I think, and I know a lot of people are waiting for it to fall off. I think the Vikings are real. I know I said last week that I thought this Vikings team was, there was a fall off coming, and we started to see it versus the Jets. How Sam Darnold finished that game, and I'm not telling you that he was elite. I'm not telling you that he's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. But I was surprised to see him have enough fight still left in him to go out there and make it as competitive as it was. And I know the defense plays a big part in that. That's how you win as a team. I think this Vikings team may need to get more credit than what people want to give them because we're expecting this fall off. And while they just lost this game, it didn't feel like it fell off.
I'm with you, and I thought they were real probably longer than you have. The sustainability of what Darnold's doing and the last couple games that we've seen him. Yesterday, he wasn't great. Had an awful interception to Brian Branch.
That was terrible.
And against the Jets, he really wasn't great.
Yeah.
So as much as I believe in their defense and in their defensive coordinator and Brian Flores, and as much as I believe in the weapons, obviously, when you have Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, my issue just still is if I had to pick the quarterbacks that I believe in this division will continue to play the way that they have, like I think Jordan Love's probably a little bit better than he's showing us right now. Not as good as he was at the end of last season, but not as bad as he looks right now. Goff, I think, is what he's doing right now is not possible. It will come down to earth. And Caleb, you just project forward and go, he's billed as a guy who has the opportunity to be one of the best quarterbacks in football, and he's starting to play that way. Yeah. Darnold, I think when water finds its level, it's going to hurt. And I think we're starting to see it.
That bad? You think he gets back to Jets level?
No, he'll never be that bad. But I don't buy that he's a top 10 guy. And I never bought it with Geno Smith. And what are we seeing now? Granted, Geno had a very long runway to get to this point, but he's been a disaster in big moments this year.
Yeah.
And
that's the biggest difference this year. When they've needed him most, it's fallen off a cliff.
So we talk about, like, okay, these career resurgence guys, Geno Smith and Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield and Derek Carr. And I'm like, yeah, they look good right now, and they're in these systems that are super beneficial. Kevin O'Connell, obviously, working with Sam Darnold. I think Baker probably a little more real because he's doing it with multiple coordinators.
Yeah.
But I just, water has to find its level, and he's not going to be a bottom 5 unplayable type of guy again. But is he probably more likely to be somewhere between 16 and 22, somewhere between 12 and 18 than he is top 10? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I can see that. I think probably in that 15 to 19 range is where I think he levels out at.
And I don't think that's unfair. That's way better than I could have anticipated Sam Darnold being at the start of the season.
Never thought he was going to be that. But and I'll say this, right? With this kind of team, you can win a lot with that.
Absolutely.
With this Vikings team, you can go a long way with that. And so
with the tackles they have and the defense they have and the offensive weaponry, you don't need an elite quarterback. You need a serviceable one.
Yeah.
You need a game manager.
You need a game manager, and you went out and you got a game manager. And guess what? It's probably going to get you to the same spot that the last game manager got you.
Lost in the first game of the playoffs?
Yeah, probably.
Well, they lost yesterday, and now they got to go on the road. So, yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah. I mean, and they'll win what? 12 games this year? 11 games this year?
I'm not saying that for anybody in this division.
You got them lower than that.
Dude, the way that this division's shaking out, I'm not going to sit here and tell you any of these teams are winning 11 games.
I think you can. Well, no, because you would have to weed 3-3.
I'm not going to sit here and it's hard as fuck to win 11 games in this league. Yeah. I'm not going to sit here and tell you any of these teams are doing that.
It's going to be so interesting to see how this season plays out. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, man. We appreciate you guys for tuning in and showing love. It's going to be so fun to watch. I'm just so glad to be a part of the NFC North. You said something last week, dog, where it was like, I've done this now multiple times, where people are like talking trash about like other teams in the North. And I'm like, aren't you a Broncos fan, dude? How about you worry about what's going on your side of the water? You got Bo Nix to worry about. You can't be trashing the Lions. I'm trashing the Lions.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's exactly right.
I'm so proud to be a part of the NFC North, man. Let us know you guys' thoughts in the comments below. What was your biggest bye week takeaway? Appreciate you guys for tuning in and showing love. As always, for Shea Norling, it's your boy Pat the Designer back at it again. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. Bear down. One love. Let's go beat the Commanders. Peace.